Nahiri stands atop one of the countless drifting stone fragments in the sky of Zendikar. She watches the Phyrexian invasion below, spreading viscous oil and mechanical seeds, withering the green earth below. Nahiri only ever wanted to protect her home, and soon Zendikar would be at peace, just like all the other planes brought under the unity of New Phyrexia. She had tried to change the plane before, to calm the Royal and protect it from the Eldrazi, but she didn't succeed. She was wiser now, understanding that she must resculpt Zendikar, chip away at its impurities and impulses until only perfection remained. Nahiri closed her eyes, reaching for her lithomancy to the Hedron network. This would be her access point to tear open the rifts between planes, to turn the trickling Phyrexian invasion into a cascade. She looks down at her arms. Phyrexian symbols glow on stone blades that replaced her hands. She smiles, realizing she had been sculpted too, sculpted into something better. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Ether Hub. I'm Simon, bringing you more Magic the Gathering lore. Today I want to bring you guys a special video, some lost lore from the March of the Machine story. Well, it wasn't so much lost as I kinda missed it, which many of you in the comments were very happy to point out in my series. This error was completely on me, guys, but I will say in my defense, this was a side story that Wizards of the Coast decided randomly to place in the main story section of their website. I just didn't notice it was there until people pointed it out to me. So a tiny snafu of the website brings us another chapter of March of the Machine's story. This one titled Zendikar Battles in the Field and in the Mind, written by AJ Greenblatt. If you want to catch my entire playlist of the March of the Machine story, you can check out the link on your screen right now or linked in the description below. Make sure you become a subscriber and tick that notification bell. But before we hunt down a completed Nahiri, we have some awesome things to celebrate with today's video sponsor. It's here, I finally hit it big on YouTube, guys. Today's video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends, the completely free-to-play mobile game with over 700 unique champions that you can lead in both PvE and PvP content. And while this is a big achievement for the channel, Raid Shadow Legends 2 has something to celebrate, their 4th anniversary. We're exploring the multiverse and throwing a party, so let's find us some guests from the Raid Shadow Legends extensive roster. Who to invite? Obviously, we need someone to provide food. I'd go with Akoth the Seared. HP Burn Mine, medium rare please. Entertainment, we need good entertainment, so let's bring Tila Gormain. Orcs are always a good time, and she probably has some great stories to share. Oh, we gotta prevent party crashers, right? Protect the group. Melga Steel Griddle is the perfect fit with her shielding abilities. And finally, someone to help us recover the day after. Gotta grab Dolar Lorekeeper. Great heals plus lore right in the name. You guys knew I would love him, right? Now that the gang's all here, how about an egg hunt from April 14th to May 15th? Download using my link, take your player ID, and head over to egghunt.plarium.com. You can enter this unique AR experience scouring the dragon's lair in search of, yes, dragon eggs. You'll be in for a chance to win in-game rewards as well as Amazon gift cards totaling $20,000. This event is for new players, but even existing Raid players can join in on the excellent fun as well. Just go to egghunt.plarium.com and you'll find a special promo code that everyone can use to earn a small gift in-game. With all of this exciting stuff and more coming to Raid, if you haven't started playing yet, then what are you waiting for? Use my link in the description or scan my QR code on your screen right now to get insane bonuses. We're talking an epic champion and other useful benefits like energy refills, magic potions, XP brews, and more. Let's try to unlock another achievement for the channel, guys. We have a goal of 25 installs of Raid Shadow Legends using my unique code. Can you help me reach this goal? Go ahead and download Raid Shadow Legends for free, and let's get to 25 installs together. Despite the horrors created by the mechanical invaders, Akiri found solace in line slinging. She felt a guilty relief to be away from the battle at Seagate, to be swinging and grappling through the air instead. She was going to investigate a vision that Tazri had of Hedrons aligning, connecting with oil, and a solemn figure in the middle of it all. It certainly wasn't much to go on, but Tazri had protected Zendikar many times by leading troops against the Eldrazi. So with that, Akiri trusted her. She hears scrambling and sees Aura, the core cleric, and Kaza, the human wizard, climb up onto a cliff with her. The angel Linvala glided out in the distance. They had all insisted on helping Akiri, desperate for any scrap of hope. Akiri searches on, deftly swinging from treacherous debris to crumbling hedrons, attuned to everything around her. She catches a flicker in the distance, a core woman covered in glowing symbols, her arms not ending with hands but long burning blades. Nahiri the Planeswalker had returned to Zendikar, a foe this group had faced once before, and with unbridled dread, Akiri realizes that Phyrexia had gained the upper hand. They had been fighting ceaselessly for days, and still the Phyrexians kept coming. Tazri knew the battles were fought as much on the field as they were in the mind, so she does not let her exhaustion show as she shouts orders to Seagate's army. The invasion tree's branches kept coming, bursting through both the sky and the sea, spilling out Phyrexian invaders. As the newest surge of machine monstrosities rush up to join the forces at the base of Seagate, Tazri sees fear in the eyes of Iram, a warrior standing nearby. She places a hand on his shoulder and tells him the Eldrazi were scarier. Iram lets out a shaky laugh, but New Phyrexia wasn't a problem of the past. They were here, now almost to the gate, and it was time for Tazri to rally her fighters. At her battle cry, the warriors charged into the fray. Tazri swerves around massive seed pods as they drop to the ground, parrying strikes from Phyrexian spears. The enemy moved in orderly rows, row after row, relentlessly, all with mechanical precision. Though their complete assimilation left no room for imagination, and Tazri made quick work of them, with Iram protecting her flank. She's still relieved to see Linvala fly over to join them. Akiri heard her say the Lithomancer Nahiri had returned, and again, not as an ally. There is a terrible scream, and Tazri turns to see Iram struck through the leg with a spear, and was now being dragged toward an open oil slick pod. She fights off the Phyrexian holding the spear, but a seed pod lands a few feet away, knocking her backward. The pod unlatches as more monsters spill out, blocking her way as warriors drag Iram thrashing and screaming into the nearest seed pod. Tazri reaches the pod in time to hear Iram's screams change, his voice twisting into something mechanical, distorting into a laugh. All around her, the brave warriors of Seagate were being overwhelmed. Linvala called out to her that Seagate was lost. They had to leave. Tazri resisted, but the angel grabs her, carrying her into the air. From above, they watched in horror as their home, once again, was consumed by creatures from outside of Zendikar. Nahiri understands that her plane is poisoned and that it will reject her antidote. She's not surprised when the earth below her starts to shake. The Royal has come for her. The Royal has always tried to undermine her, being unpredictable, unruly, and destructive. But she was wiser now. The symbols on her body started to glow as she sculpted the earth beneath her. When the ground attempts to unbalance her, she smothers it with heavy rocks to quiet the shaking to a mere quiver. When it attacks with geysers of water and magma, Nahiri blocks their escape, smothering the turmoil so far down that it will take a millennia to wrestle to the surface. Eventually, the Royal shudders and finally the earth quiets, leaving a landscape of upturned bedrock for miles. Nahiri holds up her bladed arms in triumph, black oil dripping from them, and laughs. Before her Phyrexian conversion, she would never have been able to defeat the Royal. She then turns to the Emeria Skyclave, confident that she could not be stopped in her righteous mission. Akiri has been tracking the corrupted Planeswalker for days, watching the Skyclave's broken stones be reforged, black oil seeping from the seams. As the hedrons aligned, buzzing and glowing with power, more enemies burst through the portals. Akiri explores a few pieces of the Skyclave that have not yet been turned to metal and finds an entrance. She then sees Linvala flying towards them, carrying someone. It was Tazri, identifiable at a distance by the halo she wore around her neck. Akiri, Aura, and Kaza greet them and show what Nahiri had done to the Skyclave. They walk into the uncorrupted entrance. The air immediately choked them with a sickly warmth and smell of grease. Akiri told the others that they might die or be changed, and that there was no shame in leaving now. None of them took the opportunity to abandon their mission. They didn't defeat the Eldrazi just to be destroyed by New Phyrexia. The Skyclave tunnels were supposed to be filled with dangerous creatures and dazzling wonders left over from the ancient core civilization. But now everything was still. They all drew their weapons as they saw a flicker of red light, moving lightning fast in the dark. Something roars behind them, and the adventurers turned to see a corrupted elemental. It was a giant creature, like a twisted tree, its face filled with rage. Its bark had been replaced with strips of metal, dripping oil instead of sap, and the few leaves that remained were blackened. The corrupted elemental tries to crush them with its boughs, big enough to snap the adventurers like twigs. Akiri manages to sink one of her hook lines into its bark and pull it off balance, while Tazri thrusts her sword through its gaping, hungry mouth. The elemental dies silently, which disturbed them more than if it had let out an agonizing scream. Aura realizes with horror that he's gotten black oil on his fingers, but they see some more flashes, more elementals coming. There was nothing they could do now. These once guardians of Zendikar were now zealots of Phyrexia, and there were far too many to count. The adventurers had to retreat through the tunnel that led to a room filled with ancient core artifacts. The room fills with red flashes, and suddenly they're surrounded by red and black elementals. There was no way out. Aura lifted his weapon, his hand white and brittle. Tazri held out the halo around her neck, praying to anyone who would listen. Then there was a blinding light, making the elementals stagger backward. It was Linvala who charged them, leaving an opening for the others to escape. They made it through the door, Linvala following, and piled anything they could find to barricade the door behind them. Bones, rocks, broken pieces of wood. When they were sure their enemies couldn't get through the door, they stopped to survey the room they entered. The carcasses of every creature that did not survive the Phyrexian transformation lay around them. Beasts, elementals, everything that lived in the Skyclave were half-changed corpses, rotting, oozing, and reeking of decay. That's why the tunnels were so quiet. A millennia ago, Nahiri had drawn the Eldrazi from the Blind Eternities to Zendikar through the Hedron network. Now she did the same with Realmbreaker. Nahiri transformed her anger into expanding the Hedron network across the plane. She poured black oil over everything green beneath her feet, completing the inhabitants of the Skyclave that came to defend their home. Nahiri was surprised when her anger ran dry before her work was done, so she channeled the pain and grief she had felt over a millennia. For the first time in her existence, Nahiri is empty of rage, of grief, and pain. She had one thing left to offer. She steps into the Hedron network, fusing herself there with stones, becoming its keystone. Nahiri begins to pour her essence into her glorious creation. Across the room of corpses is another door. The adventurers can hear humming and crumbling stone beyond it, and knew Nahiri was in there. They pushed the door open to reveal the Planeswalker, completed and embedded into the Skyclave's heart. The ancient core chamber around them had been transformed into white metal, and red sinew clinging to the gray stones, oil streaming to the floor. Nahiri's eyes fix on Akiri with recognition, her mouth twisting into a smile. Akiri throws a knife at the Planeswalker's throat, but a stone slams it to the ground. Tazri charges, dodging more slabs of stone, until the floor itself throws her into the air. She topples to the ground inches away from a pool of black oil reaching towards her. From the corner of her eye, she sees her friends dodging the flying debris with difficulty. They couldn't reach Nahiri, their hair and skin singing and dancing from the Planeswalker's power. Zendikar was lost. The halo around Tazri's neck began to burn, and suddenly everything was bright and gleaming. Aura stared at his corrupted hand in shock as the oil was burned away, then looked at the glowing halo around Tazri's neck. Nahiri screams as Linvala's radiance stuns her power. The boulders she had been hurling at them floated idle in the air. The oil on the ground began to dry up, and the burning runes on Nahiri's skin dimmed. One last time, they charged the completed Planeswalker, Kaza throwing spells to distract her, while Akiri bound her arms with grappling hooks. Tazri knows her sword will be useless against Nahiri's now metal body, so she grabs the halo around her neck and hurls it at her enemy. There's a flash, and the keystone breaks, dropping the Lithomancer from its embrace. She's no longer its linchpin, and the Skyclave cracks, knocking everyone from their feet. The floor beneath them began to collapse, so they ran, dodging metal and stone falling from the ceiling. When they reach the open air, Akiri secures a grappling hook and grabs Tazri. Kaza pulls Aura up onto her flying staff, and they all jump. They land safely on a ledge that is stable. Looking back, they see the Emeria Skyclave collapsing and smashing the mechanical troops on the ground. Zendikar sky now glows with iridescent light, no longer red and greasy. The odds were always against them, but now they had found hope. Though none of the adventurers could confirm Nahiri's demise, a collapsing Skyclave would prove a difficult thing to survive. though Akiri noted that Nahiri was as tough as stone, and without any sign of a body, none could be sure of her ultimate fate. What they did know was that the once orderly and efficient new Phyrexian troops had begun acting erratically, as if they were no longer following orders. If Nahiri was commanding them, she was no longer. Without a body, that was at least a promising sign. And there you guys go, the real, final chapter of the March of the Machine story. Sorry I missed this and it took a while to get to you guys, but it was a fun little read that gave us a look at the fate of a completed Nahiri. The big takeaway from this story is that Nahiri was stopped on Zendikar, but wasn't necessarily killed. It specifically noted that Nahiri didn't leave a body behind, but all the same, her Phyrexian troops appear to have lost all sense of direction, as if their commander was truly gone. This will be left as a mystery until March of the Machine Aftermath starts to wrap up these loose ends. And that's going to do it for today's video, guys. If you want to support our work here on the channel, consider leaving this video a like, becoming a subscriber or member of the channel, dropping a super thanks, and of course sharing it with your friends. It all goes a long way in helping us build this community. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, see ya!